What is up? What is up? We are back, fellas. We are coming at you with another Sunday morning. You guys know what we do around here. We get through our flock questions first, and we shall get through as many questions as humanly possible. Danny, let's not waste any time because I'm sure lots of people have lots of questions for us.
Oh, yeah.
Zachary Jonas is the first one that we got up on the docket here. A reminder, too, if you guys do want to ask us questions, we do prefer them to come through our site, flockfantasy.com, and the link to ask us a question or get your team reviewed if you prefer to do that offline is starred in the chat right now. It is also the first link in your description. You just go to flockfantasy.com/purchase, use code FSE, and then you can ask us a question over there. So Zachary, first one in here. He's got his wide receiver set with Marvin, with Ayuk. Trey McBride is tight end, running back Breece Hall. Looks like he's considering between Zach Moss and Brian Robinson with Isaiah Pacheco out. And it looks like he's considering between Anthony Richardson and Baker Mayfield at quarterback. So for me at the running back spot, I think I'm leaning Brian Robinson there. It's actually the exact same game. They're facing each other. But I do like B-Rob's workload a little bit better. He's also leading the NFL right now in yards after contact per attempt. So he's been quite efficient so far this year.
You mentioned, so where did you say you had these guys ranked respectively?
I think I have B-Rob at 19, and then I have, let me pull up my rankings right now. I have B-Rob at 19, and then Zach Moss, I think, is at 23 for me right now.
Because I actually have it inverted. I have Moss at 19 and B-Rob at 21. The reason being, I trust the game script for the Bengals in this game, and we just came off a game where Zach Moss had 82% of the Bengals snaps. Now, I don't know how that's going to be going moving forward. I do think Chase Brown will end up being a bigger part of this offense moving forward. But knowing that he's getting 82% of the running back snaps on a team that is implied as, I believe, 6-point favorites at home this week with the Bengals, I got to trust Moss. Again, I think B-Rob is also a really good play. They're literally 19 and 21 in my rankings for a reason. But I guess like to even it out, because there's a bigger discrepancy for you between B-Rob over Moss versus me having Moss over B-Rob, we'll probably put in the answer Brian Robinson. But I do actually have Zach Moss slightly higher.
Yeah. No, they're both pretty good plays this week, especially given the workload that both guys really receive. I think both of the offenses are going to run through the run game because the Bengals, I think, are going to get out to a nice lead. They're 7.5-point favorites against the Commanders. And like you said, 82% of the snaps for Zach Moss last week. Both guys are good plays. This one's a little bit more tricky. Anthony Richardson versus Baker Mayfield. Like, I have A-Rich higher, but I do think that the floor could fall out in this game with the Bears defense as good as they've been. I mean, they shut down CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans passing game. I think the key for Anthony Richardson in this game is he's got to run the football. Like, if he doesn't run the ball, he's going to have a hard time finding people open. Pittman's dealing with something. I think on the outside, Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce will have a tough time getting open, but Josh Downs is back, so that could also be crucial. But yeah, I would also go with Anthony Richardson here, and then flex DJ Moore. You're playing DJ Moore over all these guys, I'm assuming.
Let me take a look.
Jalen Waddle, Zach Moss, Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, it would be DJ Moore for me. Let's quickly take a look at the rest of the starting lineup and make sure it is all set. Yeah, Breeze.
Yeah, the other wideouts. I mean, you're not sitting these two guys here. Tight end, I'm assuming he only has McBride.
Yeah, I think like the only real decision point for me would be the B-Rob versus Moss. Again, I would slightly have Moss higher, but they're similar plays to the point where I'm perfectly fine submitting Brian Robinson in there. So again, appreciate the question there, Zach. Hopefully this lineup will be able to give you some really good production this week.
Yep, for sure. And a reminder to those of you guys that are asking us questions, you guys get automatically messaged the link as soon as we've answered your question. It should give you a timestamp in the live stream, which we answered it. Obviously, just follow along and watch if you want to. But next question comes from Obtainable. Here, it looks like he's deciding between his flex spots. I mean, he's got Nico and Lamb and all these guys. Very good team by the looks of it. He has absolutely no holes on this roster right now. Yeah, it's a 10-team, 1 quarterback, start 8. You guys can see. Lost Hollywood and IR, packaged Godwin for Lamar after the draft. Didn't want to start Waddle, especially the first week after the Tua injury. Who do we think?
I still think that's your best bet. I still think Waddle would be your best bet. Again, it is pretty close. If you're extremely worried about the viability of the offense, which I wouldn't blame you, 18.5 implied points. Skylar Thompson is the starting quarterback. I believe Jalen Waddle's pick'em line actually went down to about 42.5 receiving yards. So there definitely is cause for concern. However, if you had if I'm going through my wide receiver rankings, I mean, obviously JSN would be a perfect pivot, but more so
like Tank Dell or somebody like that.
Rashid Shaheed, I wouldn't mind going that route, like Rashid Shaheed, maybe Xavier Worthy,
Jameson Williams.
I just think DeMarcus Robinson, who would be my second answer on this, knowing that Jordan Addison is out, Jalen Warren, we kind of want to see the workload before we put him into our lineup.
Obviously on IR. So
Chase Brown, literally a 20% snap share player at this current point. I think it would be between Waddle and Robinson, but I just can't look myself in the mirror and start Demarcus Robinson over Jalen Waddle at this point. Like, I want to at least see the context of the Miami offense before I bench Waddle in this spot.
Agreed. Yeah. And also a reminder for those of you guys sending in super chats, we will get to those after the flock questions. Yep. And again, we do appreciate if you ask them over here because we get a larger share of those than the super chats. So trade question here from Delafit. 1 quarterback, 10 teams, start 8, half PPR, no tight end.
You're downgrading at both spots. Actually, sorry, Bijan. My bad. Oh, okay. I mean, actually, I still think that's the case because I would take Achane over Rice slightly, and I would take Lamb over Bijan.
Yeah, I think
split spots is the wrong word, but regardless.
Yeah, it's a pretty close discussion. I think this is Achane Lamb for me, for sure.
It definitely is for me.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, I mean, you can see my rankings on the screen right now. It's RB1 versus wide receiver 1. This is my weekly rankings, not my my season-long rankings for what it's worth. And I do really like all 4 of these guys rest of the season, but Achane and Lamb is definitely the answer here.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree.
Let's get to the next question here. Another trade question from Tagger. Drake London, Puka Nacua.
Go get Lamb.
Yeah,
go get Lamb.
Go get Lamb. Puka is obviously going to be a horse when he gets back on the field. It is a start 8 half PPR, so you're losing a little bit of juice for. I mean, start 8's a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex traditionally, so it's still relatively a deep starting lineup. But I think you just want the horse here most likely.
8-team league, go get Lamb. I mean, as much as I like London and Puka, do they really have a sustainable path to 20 plus PPR points per game? Because I think, I guess half PPR. So what would that be, like
17.5 points or whatever?
And half PPR, it's more so like probably like 15.5, 16. But regardless, yes.
PPR versus half PPR isn't that big of a difference, Dan. It's like 10 receptions.
Okay. So we'll say like on average, a top 12 receiver averages about
7 receptions a game. Yeah,
receptions a game.
It's probably 17, 16 and a half PPR points.
Versus Lamb, I think he's not going to get 10 receptions per game. But if you told me at the end of the season he had 8 or 9 receptions per game, I would not be shocked because he had 135 last year.
Yeah, no, Lamb's got to be the answer here. He's and the other thing I didn't see is that it's an 8-team league. Like in an 8-team league, you want the guy who is going to go first, second, or third overall if we redrafted today with CeeDee Lamb here. So
for sure.
Another start-sit question here from Tom. Absolute horse of a lineup here by the looks of it. I guess he just wants us to look over it. He says needs help deciding between which two.
Oh my God.
Rice and Devontae.
You have. I'm rechecking my rankings. You have 3 of my top 10 wide receivers this week as a start-sit decision. Why is that a thing?
I mean, I don't
Honestly,
know.
I would have told you to sit Garrett Wilson, which is hilarious because obviously he went Thursday.
I wouldn't have. I had Garrett a little bit higher than Devontae here.
Well,
so my answer would be that you sit Smith, but I don't want to sit Smith. I think he is a great play this week.
I mean, when your alternative option is Rashee Rice, you're sitting Devontae Smith. Like, it's just as simple as that. Knowing that Carson Steele is going to be the main running back, there's not going to be Isaiah Pacheco back there. And this has been a Chiefs team that has thrown the ball 27 times per game. Right now, Rashee Rice is averaging 17.9 PPR points per game on a Chiefs offense that's throwing the ball less than 30 times per game. Could you imagine once they get up to 35, 36, 37? People aren't talking enough about the plausible 20-plus PPR point per game upside that Rashee Rice has the rest of the season with Pacheco being out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I congrats on your championship because this team's an absolute fucking beast of a unit there, Tom. Billy HHO here says Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Sam Laporta's one side, then Chase McBride's the other side is a 12-team, 1 quarterback.
Start 7 here. Start 7 makes it very close because when I'm looking at this, basically McBride for Laporta, I would slightly prefer McBride, but they're almost very similar. If you wanted to cancel them out, I wouldn't blame you. It's really Jacobs and Adams for Jamar Chase. In a start 7 league, again, it totally depends. Like, did you pick up a Jordan Mason? Did you pick up, Cam Akers, Carson Steele off the waiver wire to the point where running backs are a little bit more expendable for your team? Because if running backs are expendable, I'm still a little bit worried about Devontae Adams' long season. And if I can get a legitimate mid-first round type of redraft player rest of the season like Jamar Chase, I would be willing to do it. Again, Jacobs and Adams for Chase, I would say is a pretty hefty price to pay. But if you do have the running back depth, like I said, Masons, Akers, Steele, any of these like Dobbins, any of these, late round guys that hit for you or potential waiver wire guys you're able to add to the point where Jacobs is one of like 4 usable running backs for you and you can literally go and use them to upgrade to Chase, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think this is probably a fair deal for both teams.
Yeah.
So I think this Jacobs,
Agreed.
I mean, especially Lloyd's going to be on IR for 4 weeks. Like Jacobs had 31 carries last week. Like there's a very good chance that we're getting workhorse Jacobs for the next couple of weeks. And
I think we
that's
will.
huge. Especially Jordan Love's going to be probably back in week 4 too. And we haven't even really seen what Jacobs can do in this offense with a healthy Jordan Love for more than one game. And in that game, he looked great against Philadelphia.
Well, I think we're learning this year that maybe the offensive scheme does matter, because like all these backs that we said, oh, these inefficient plotters, like, you know, for the Bengals and for the Raiders with Mixon and Jacobs respectively, oh, they're inefficient, but they get a lot of volume.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're actually showing some efficiency this year once
Well,
they land a good
Barkley
land a good
too,
run schemes.
with
Barkley
Philadelphia
too.
instead of the Giants. I mean, even Tony Pollard looks a lot better with the Titans than he did with the Cowboys last year.
Mm-hmm.
Could be injury related for him, but still definitely schematics maybe playing into account. I think Brian Callahan's doing a good job calling up the running game there. So we're going with Chase, I think,
Yep.
on this one, given the league scoring
Well,
format.
especially knowing that we did say that Adams and Jacobs for Chase is about even value. And although we equaled off the tight ends, I actually would prefer McBride rest of the season to Sam Laporta. Again, they
I
are
would
same
as well.
year,
I think I slightly prefer him. Given the Jameson Williams breakout, I never really actually factored this into Sam Laporta's case because I wasn't high on Jameson Williams, but it has been kind of detrimental for his fantasy value. He's a lot more like George Kittle than he was before, where it's like we haven't seen the big game yet. We'll probably see it today, or we'll probably see it in the next coming weeks, but he's not, the clear number 2 in his offense like we were expecting him to be. And not only that, but like Gibbs is getting peppered out of the backfield too. Like it's a pretty crowded offense, just like the 49ers have been, which is, great. You still want pieces of that offense. He's still top 3 to 4 tight end for me rest of the season.
Yeah.
But McBride is like clearly the number 2 in his offense.
And that was the main motivation for me. So obviously going into the year, it was Kelsey 1, Laporta 2 in my tight end rankings. That's the reason why they're actually down at 3 and 4 for me, respectively. Again, Kelsey, different concerns, more so the age concerns, hasn't really looked like himself. Still think he's going to be a stud option, don't get me wrong. But knowing that McBride and Bowers are clear top 2 weapons, clear elite level talents, and knowing the type of volume that they're both getting, I think we got to view McBride and Bowers as being the tight ends 1 and 2 rest of the season, at least with the information we currently have.
Yeah, this is an interesting question here. I feel like if you guys want like a sneaky, like good touchdown bet today, I really like Adam Thielen to score today.
I picked him up in the Flock League. Did you see yesterday?
He was excellent last year when the Carolina Panthers had half decent quarterback play, right? Like when Dalton was in there, when Bryce was playing a little bit better, Adam Thielen was awesome last year. So it's possible. I actually do prefer Thielen on this side of the trade because DeMarcus Robinson, I mean, he's a fine fill-in like wide receiver 5 or whatever.
Thielen could be for rest of season.
Yeah. Rest of season wise, I think that if Dalton's starting for the next 4, 5, 6 games, however long they want to start him for, I think Thielen's weekly ceiling and just like ceiling to be a usable asset that like last year you and I just chanted from the mountaintops to be selling high on Adam Thielen. Eventually that came to reckon and he was the type of guy that you should have been selling high on, but
he gave you like 8 good weeks.
Upside here is just way, way higher than before here.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, for those of you, again, appreciate all the super chats. We will handle them right after the site questions. Like Corey said, it actually does benefit us more if you guys go over to ask these questions over on Flock Fantasy. Super simple. Also gives you a lot more aesthetic to play around with when you're actually combining these questions. Instead of having to type it all out, you can actually put the player graphics onto it. So yeah.
Yeah, and you can load your team into the My Teams feature. And also, too, I believe that site subscribers have discounts on these questions, too. So you actually save a little bit if you guys are looking to super chat.
Did he ask that twice?
You do save a little bit here. This is, I believe, the same
question.
Same trade question. He might have submitted this twice.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, we will still take the CeeDee Lamb and Devon Achane side, but appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll appreciate the double submission there. And then this is just a team review. You can also get your teams reviewed over on the site as well. Let's get through some supers here, and then I'll refresh and see if we got any more.
Yeah, you could refresh. I'll take us to the top of the supers. Again, first super of the day. Appreciate that from Xavier. So start to Waddle, Jennings, Ladd, Terry, and Shakir. I understand being pessimistic about Waddle, but I would also be pretty pessimistic about this entire list. So Waddle, to me, he could take any one of his targets for a long touchdown, and that could supplement his fantasy day versus the rest of this list. I don't know if they have that type of per target type of upside. So I understand the concerns about the quarterback play, but I still think you got to go with Waddle as the number 1 here. And there are the other options. Like it's really close for me between Shakir, Ladd, and Terry. In fact, I think they all actually ended up being between 33 and 36 of my wide receiver rankings. Let me see
They're
what the order I
literally
have them.
back to back in my rankings right now. I have Shakir the highest currently. But I
Um,
do also really like the matchup for Lad, knowing that QJ is going to see some shadow coverage. I think that
yeah.
McConkey has a chance for a good game. But Herbert's banged up. So for me, I lean with Shakir. I mean, Shakir has been pretty solid and consistent so far. He's been over 10 PPR points
You
in
want to
both
hear
of
this
his
one?
games for Josh Allen. So I would go with Shakir personally.
You want to hear this one?
What's that?
36 Shakir, 37 McLaurin, 39 McConkey.
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
they're literally like 35 Shakir, 36 McLaurin, 37 McConkey right now. They're all back to back to back.
yeah. So we both would agree then that Shakir would be our second after Waddle. Waddle, I tentatively have him at 23, but looking now,
I'm at 27. I moved him down a little bit lower than that.
I like would I with a straight face say I would start Waddle over Jameson Williams? Probably not. Rashid Shaheed, probably not. I think you got to go with the game
Just
environments there.
Shaheed
So,
that high?
dude, he's been fucking insane.
I mean, I
There's
have
no
him in the
reason for him
flock
not to
league,
be.
but I'm trying not to be
I,
biased here. I'm at 34. I think there's a good chance that
I'm at
he comes back
27.
down to earth this week, but it is an excellent game environment and a really bad secondary that they're going up against.
Also, I think it's fair to say that he could come back down to earth, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because the usage has actually been really good. It's not like he's just been feasting on big plays. Yes, he has had big plays, but he's actually commanding targets. He's actually running a ton of routes. He's actually been efficient on a targets per route run basis, yards per route run basis. So, like, it comes to me with Rashid Shaheed right now that once he actually disappoints me is when I'm going to drop him in the rankings. Trying to predict that he will disappoint me at this point, he may just be a really good player. And what's the best offense of his career? Because like
Hey,
he was actually good when the Saints offense was
he
bad.
dropped 2 50-yard touchdowns on my bench in the flock league, and I know for a fact that because he's in my lineup now, he's having one catch for 13 yards. But
That's
yes, I
usually how
agree.
it tends to work, eh?
Usually how it tends to work. Yeah, but he is a top 10 receiver in fantasy right now. So he's been
Yep.
really good, like you said. Zach says, do I start Dak or Jaden Daniels? I have CD 4 point per passing
Well, if
touchdown.
you
I
have
mean, Dak
CD,
and
just go
Daniels
with the
are
sack.
so close for me. So if you have Dak, definitely go with Dak.
Yeah, like I have Daniels higher on a 4 point, but knowing that you have CD and you can get the stack equity of them, like just thinking about it like this: if Dak has a big fantasy day, it'll be because CD went off, or vice versa. If CD had a big fantasy day, it'll be because Dak went off. So if you can double correlate that bet into your lineup, I think that's more beneficial than going with a slightly higher ranked player.
Yeah, no, I agree. Deontay Johnson or Lad McConkey rest of season. I
Lad.
will take McConkey rest of season. This
Yeah.
week, I actually don't hate people who would say they would take Deontay this week against
Agree.
the Raiders with Andy Dalton starting, but I will take McConkey rest of season. I think there's still quite a bit of upside for McConkey to win out the PPR kind of chain mover job there.
By the way, so again, like obviously you did the running back rankings. Where do you have Zach Charbonnet? Just random question, but I feel
I
like
have him RB 14.
okay, because the reason why I'm asking is like everywhere around, I'm like, oh yeah, sneaky low end RB2 play Zach Charbonnet. It's like, well, guys, like
He
I
had
have
like
him at RB
95% of the snaps last week and
he's
was a top
RB13 for
10
me.
running back on the week. Like, why is he not? Like, I think you could make the argument that he's a better play this week than like Jordan Mason or Jonathan Taylor. Like, you
Well,
could make the argument for that.
yeah, like again, I have Mason a
I
little bit
wouldn't rank
higher,
him that
but
high, but he's
like,
a huge workload dude, and he gets a
oh
lot
yeah,
of targets too.
for sure, yeah. So like that was one that I found pretty funny because it's like, okay, well, you're talking about him as like this like solid low end wide or low end running back to play. Like he's my RB13 this week. The guys that I have him sandwiched between are actually Kyron Williams and Josh Jacobs. And Kyron, I have him at 14
I am over
right
Kyron.
now. I don't know what to do with Kyron. I have him at 14 right now. I don't know if that's too high or too low or just right.
Like, it's appropriate for his workload, but he's like in a carnage bowl this week. Like the Rams have no offensive weapons, and neither do the 49ers. Like there's a good chance that game's actually a lot lower scoring than people think it's going to be.
Like the worry that I have with Kyron, again, I trust that he'll probably get 20 opportunities in this game. But does that look like 16 carries for 43 yards and only 4 targets? Or more beneficial to us, it's like 13 carries for 31 yards and 7 targets. Because the more targets that he can get in this game is going to supplement his value. Because over under 3.1 yards per carry he gets against that Niners front with a decimated offensive
Yeah,
line.
he's probably not going to have a great. He's been pretty inefficient just in general, but especially against that front, it's probably going to be a challenging battle for him. Air messaged us here with a super chat. This is his question. Yep. He said, my super chat didn't show up with message. Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for all your weekly insights. Full PPR, Pickens or Dell, and then half PPR, Dobbins or Neighbors. The second question's pretty easy. It's got to be Neighbors there. And then the first question, I have Dell higher than Pickens as well. I know Dell's been kind of shit. He's actually one of like the lowest graded wide receivers in the league, according to PFF right now. But that game environment, Pittsburgh, Los Angeles, there
Yeah.
might be like 40 total pass attempts between those two teams.
The only concern I may have for Dell this week, and I actually talked about it in the wide receiver rankings video, why I have Diggs over Dell just specifically for this week, would take Dell rest of the season. But the reason why I would actually take Diggs over Dell this week is that we know Brian Flores and the Vikings are a very aggressive defense. Mm-hmm. They love dialing up their man blitzes. They love getting after the quarterback. The thing that I'm a little bit Diggs. That's what the thesis is, getting it out quick to Diggs. And the thing I'm a little bit worried about with Tank Dell is the way this offense is currently constructed is Nico Collins is the one. Stephon Diggs is your underneath slot receiver. Tank Dell is your PA shot guy. If the PA shots are not going to be available because the Vikings are bringing pressure all day, that's what I'm a little bit concerned about. Now,
but I will say a blitz heavy team, as a fan of a team who blitzes like fucking crazy, they often result in coverage busts sometimes. Yeah. And that could be where Tank Dell makes his money this week because like Flores and Todd Bowles operate very similarly. You know how many long touchdowns have been scored against the Buccaneers because we went for broke and sent 7 guys? Like it happens.
With all
Stroud is really good against the blitz too.
With all due respect, I think of one in particular that may or may not have happened in a playoff game a few years ago.
Yeah, the Cooper Cup play. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
2021, where we probably win the Super Bowl because we lost to the Super Bowl champion.
That was against 0, right? Like you guys called 0 and he just went fucking free.
He called 0 on prevent. Like it was supposed to be a prevent defense time of the game, and he literally called a 0 blitz, which again, that's Todd Bowles, man. He's going to gamble like that. It worked when we did it in the NFC Championship against Green Bay the year we won the Super Bowl. It worked quite a bit. But like you also kind of look like a donkey when it doesn't work.
It's pretty hilarious how like you're obviously the Todd Bowles guy because you're a Bucs fan, and now at Michigan I'm watching Wink Martindale's fucking aggressive ass defense over there too. Which, by the way, again, I have to say it right now. Go Blue! How the hell you beat a top 12 team with 32 passing yards, no drop back passing game? Like honestly, it almost makes me more upset that we won that game in that fashion, knowing that if we just simply went to the fucking transfer portal for a quarterback, we probably would have been a locked-in playoff team. Again, could we still make the playoffs with like 9 wins? Maybe, but like you're not beating any of the top 4, top 5 teams with the quarterback play you're getting.
Future Michigan quarterback Quinn Ewers. Just kidding.
Hopefully. Hey, I'd take it. Fuck. I mean, he's going to go to the draft at this point. Dude, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility he's the first pick, dude. He's looked good this year.
Quinn, I mean, it depends how severe this injury is, but he's definitely, I mean, Shedeur had a great game last night. I don't know if you watched the end of that, but there was like a Hail Mary play. Anyways, we got a million questions. We should probably just get through these.
Sorry.
Cody says, start 1, Amari, Cooper, Higgins, Pickens, Waddle, Brian Thomas. I'm throwing T. Higgins in my lineup of these options.
Yeah, I mean, then... Yeah, it would be T.
You have a pivot option with Brian Thomas if it doesn't work out and he doesn't play, but he is expected to play according to Zach Taylor. And I think Higgins, even at 85, 90%, and he says like he feels 100%, the Commanders are the freest cash of all time against the pass.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say too, I think I would easily go the Higgins route knowing Brian Thomas at the backup, considering that T. Higgins and Brian Thomas Jr. would actually be my 2 highest rated players out of this question.
I do actually have Cooper slightly ahead of Brian Thomas. But
you're insane for that.
Yeah, it's not a marketable difference, to be honest. Like,
we setting that in.
I don't want to bet on Amari Cooper, so I don't feel confident in that take. But I'm trusting that the matchup's a little better this week.
If you're going to bet on Amari Cooper in a single week, you're going to bet it when the Browns are implied for 22.5 points. That's when it's
against the fucking Giants too, who stink.
They are quite urine.
Shaheed or London or Neighbors? You don't like Neighbors. I love London this week too, though, for what it's worth. Also, Caleb or Fields. I have Fields higher of the 2 quarterbacks.
Real quick, so the reason why we want to mention Neighbors, by the way, I would also take Fields. I just want to see Caleb do it before I put him back into my lineup. Mm-hmm. And although you can make the case, well, has Fields actually done it? At least you know you're getting supplementation with 40 plus 40 plus rushing yards in this game. So back on Neighbors though. I was working with my dynasty rankings. Obviously, we both were doing that. If you guys want a sneak peek, we will be updating our dynasty rankings set for you guys. I believe you're doing the dynasty trade targets video this week.
Yeah, mine are actually up to date as of the end of week 3. Or the beginning of week 3 after the first Thursday game.
So mine are all set. Again, I'm just transferring them over to the sheets right now. I wanted to ask you how you value your top 5 wide receivers in dynasty now, knowing the context that we do.
It's the same 5 names I had before.
It's the same 5 names, but what's the order of them now?
I have Marvin ahead of Chase. So it's Lamb, Jefferson, Marvin, Chase, and St. Brown is the way I have them.
I have one big difference for you because
You have Neighbors at 5 over St. Brown, I'm guessing?
I have Neighbors at 4.
Over Chase. Yeah, I'm not quite there yet because I still like the insulation, the QB play, and I think, to be honest with you, like we're getting a 40 burger from Chase on Monday night. Like, I think he's gonna fucking snap against the Commanders.
I don't disagree, but it's crazy how, again, I still think Garrett Wilson's a stud talent. But it's crazy how for him and Olave, we made all the excuses in the book about quarterback play. And then Neighbors in his second fucking NFL career game goes for 18 targets, over 28 PPR points, and is currently a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy with Daniel Jones and a 16-point implied offense. I don't think it's out of the possibility that Malik Neighbors has an Odell Beckham-like rise. Like, I don't.
In fact, I think shock me at all if by midway through their rookie seasons, Marvin and Malik are 1 and 2 in Dynasty wide receiver rankings. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all. Like, we knew they were capable.
They're on pace to doing it right now. Like, I think at the very minimum, you can consider it a tier, like elite tier 1 tier, 3+ first rounders.
It's almost team dependent right now. Like, if you were a full status rebuilder, would you rather have Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, or would you rather have Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison? Like, I think you'd probably want some kind of like second round pick sweetener or something, but for the most part, it is close.
Yeah, and the other main things too. Nico Collins, where'd you land on? I think you might be one spot.
I think I have him 7. I had Neighbors 6, and I think I had Collins 7. Okay, so behind. I moved him ahead. I moved him one spot ahead of Wilson. I think I had Wilson.
That's what I was not concerned about, because obviously I think it's very close. But like, that was what I was curious about, because I have it 7 Collins, 8 Wilson. I moved Olave up to 9 because, quite frankly, if you're comparing the profile between him and Wilson, it's very similar at this point, to the point where I think you got to have them both very close to each other.
I had Puka ahead of Olave.
Yeah, but I changed it with the news of the injury.
Yeah, I mean, Puka's going to be back in the field pretty soon.
I agree, but I think they're similar tier regardless, especially from what I've seen with the Saints offense so far. And I do think that Chris Olave could have his breakout year this year. And knowing that you're also getting lineup utility if you have to make a trade right now. Like, if I had to make a trade right now, I would rather trade for a Chris Olave. So that's why I have to have him a few spots higher. I still have it as the same tier, though, for the record. Like, I have Puka at 12, AJ Brown at 11, Rashee Rice I moved up to 10, number 9 Olave, number 8 Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I have Wilson 8, Puka 9, AJ 10, Rashee Rice 11, and I still have Ayuk holding it down at 12.
Ayuk's 13 for me.
Yeah, he's close. We got a million questions. We need to get through
sorry.
This. AJ says, sup, fellas, Jacoby Myers, Lad McConkey, Darnell Mooney, Samaje Perine, Austin Eckler need to for the flex spots. For me, this is very clearly Lad McConkey is the first. And then I would probably go Jacoby Myers with the second option, to be honest.
I don't mind Eckler here, man. They're going to be in a positive passing game.
Not over Myers. What?
Why? What has Myers done? What has Myers done? Eckler's been fine in PPR. He's averaging like 11.5 PPR points per game right now.
Yeah, I like Jacoby Myers this week, man. Carolina is shit on defense. I think that the Raiders could be throwing it this week for sure.
They could be, but the problem is Myers is
for what it's worth. I would probably start Mooney over Eckler too.
Oh, dude, we got to do
20 PPR points last week.
Okay,
in a high-scoring game environment against Kansas City, I think he could have a big game again.
Choose which one you like. I'll take Eckler over both of them.
I like Myers. I like Myers more.
I'll take your Eckler versus Myers. Like, dude, they're 6-point underdogs on the road against Cincinnati. Eckler might catch 7 dump-offs in this game.
You're right, he might, but like, it's not like Brian Robinson's a complete zero in terms of route participation. He takes some of that stuff away.
I don't disagree, but like, again, like, Eckler's just... Is Eckler leading them in receiving yards right now? Real talk?
It would be fucking hilarious and Cliff Kingsbury-ish if they
wait. Washington.
Anyways, I'm going to rip through some more questions while you look that up. Start 2, flex. Jameson, Williams, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery. Wow, this is a tough decision. I would say just tie break against Aaron Jones given the injury concern. That would be where I'm at with that, Jonathan. Also, Chiefs wide receiver Jonathan Baldwin is the one who asked us this question.
The shout out, bro. Former first-round pick, I believe, right?
Yeah, Aaron Jones would be my sit here. I don't know about you. I'd be starting the Lions.
Yeah, I agree. Jonathan Baldwin, fun fact, random obscure fact. I believe they were both selected in the 2013 draft. I think Baldwin is either a late first round or an early second, and he got traded straight up, I believe, after his rookie season for a fellow first round pick, AJ Jenkins of the 49ers, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, both busts, but I digress.
Yeah.
By the way, so Commanders receiving yards on the season. Eckler first, 99 receiving yards.
Gross.
Zach Ertz second at 90. Noah Brown at third at 56. Brian Robinson at fourth at 52. And then Terry McLaurin all the way down at fifth with 39 receiving yards on 12 targets so far in the first 2 games.
I mean, he's a fake alpha. He always has been. But it is crazy to me that Cliff Kingsbury is the definition of like a progress stopper. Like, how does it help your young quarterback at all to like be checking the ball down to Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz?
Dude, how does fucking Eckler have 2 20-plus yard receiving plays when he's just catching dump offs right now? Like, also, why is he supplementing?
How do you mismanage your wide receiver position this bad? Like, if you thought your receiver position was going to be such a bad group, you should have spent a second-round pick on a wide receiver. Like, I don't know how the hell. I mean, Johnny Newton fell to them, so they probably were just drafting off of their board or whatever. I think it was it Johnny Newton that fell to them?
Yeah. He had the injury concerns that made him fall, I believe, right?
Yeah, but anyways, they probably should have addressed their wide receiver position in the second round. Anyways, Alfredo says start 3 standard: Higgins, Olave, Nico, JSN, Cooper, Worthy. So Nico's got to be in your lineup. I would say Olave has to be in your lineup as well. And then it's probably between Higgins and JSN. And I actually slightly prefer Higgins this week.
I would go Higgins as well. Yeah, touchdown equity, I believe almost 27 implied Bengals points. You kind of have to go that from a process standpoint. But I mean, if this was PPR, I think you'd have a really good argument between JSN and Higgins. But knowing it's standard and touchdowns are all that matters, you got to go with Higgins.
Yeah, no, agreed. Anthony Richardson or Daniels at quarterback. I want Daniels. Anthony Richardson there, but it's Daniels.
I have them 8 and 9 for Richardson. I have them 8 and 9, but like I would go Daniels.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just worried. The Bears defense has been fucking good, man.
It's been good. Yeah, I think the difference though is that this week Richardson's going to tuck it and run a lot more than he did last week. And I mean, not that Daniels.
I think they both will. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Downs being back and Richardson going to run a little bit more makes me feel a little bit better about Richardson. I have them also 8 and 9, and Richardson's my 8, and I'm assuming Daniels is your 8. So it's very close.
They're both 8 and 9. Yeah. We don't have any more questions on the site, right?
Oh, we have tons more. That's why I'm saying we got to get through these.
Let's go then.
Pick one: Singletary, Judy, Odunze, half PPR. I'm going Singletary there, dude. Singletary's workload has been excellent.
I honestly think they're comparable plays at running back versus wide receiver. Honestly, the reason why I'm trusting Odunze is that we saw him run 96% of the routes coming off a questionable label going into the game last week. There's no Keenan Allen. He's off of the injury report entirely. And this is by far the easiest defense that the Bears have played this year. Because, I mean, it's kind of going underreported. Obviously, people are like, oh, the Bears offense looks bad. Caleb looks bad. The 2 defenses they played in the first 2 weeks, the Titans and the Texans, have genuinely been very good.
They've been great. They've been great.
So, like, with me, I'm looking at it with the Colts. I think there's a real possibility Odunze can get in behind. I think Singletary absolutely is a safer play based on the workload. But I'm honestly just trusting you're potentially getting 100% of the routes from Rome Odunze, who had 5 targets last week.
I'll take 75% of the snaps out of a running back over 100% of the routes for a receiver.
The thing I'm worried about, though, is the Browns' defense and 16-point implied points. That's kind of where I come back to.
I think you're going to beat the Browns' defenses on the ground.
No, that's definitely fair. I think if you need a floor, Singletary's got the higher floor. If you need upside, though, it's easily Odunze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Start Jordan Mason or Jonathan Taylor. I have JT higher, but it is a discussion for me for sure. It's crazy that this is a decision point. Ferguson or Kincaid. I would just lean with Kincaid, just tiebreaker that Ferguson's coming off an injury, but I don't actually dislike either of them. We need fucking one of these mid-round tight ends better have a good week this week, man. Pitts, Kincaid, Laporta, Kelsey. Like, can you guys figure your shit out, please?
For sure. Let's keep speeding through because obviously we do have the site as well. 2
of Shaheed, White, Akers. I think we're going to disagree on this one. I have White and Shaheed, but I would assume you have Akers over one of those 2 guys.
Okay, no, I'm on my dynasty here. Let me go to my weeklies. I think I have White and Akers literally back to back. I have Akers at 24 and White at 25. So, like,
I have White at 21 and Akers at 26. So I have them pretty far apart. I would go White for White.
I mean, as long as we can agree on Shaheed. Sorry, we didn't help you with the running backs, but like they're extremely similar projections. The reason why I default back to the Texans with Akers is you're still getting 24 implied points. It is a tough defense against the Vikings, but there's a very real possibility that Akers can just fall flatward. What is flatward? Flat backwards into the end zone.
Squidward's brother, flatward.
Flatward, shout out. I would go Akers because I trust the offense more. But I mean, at the end of the day, Rachaad White could also catch like 6-7 passes, so you're not really.
I think he
losing much either way.
absolutely will catch 6 or 7 passes in this game. And another lock if you guys want one. And actually, you know what? While we're talking about it, because it's in my
May as well
pick'em
show
entry.
it. Yep.
Yeah, I might as well show it. One of my pick'em entries this week, for those of you guys that tailed me on Thursday, I did actually nail a 7Xer. And if you guys wanted to tail this one, higher than 20.5 Rachaad White receiving yards is in this pick'em entry. I also like Zamir White and Tony Pollard to have big rushing days, plus Derrick Henry to find the end zone in this one. I mean, genuinely, if Derrick Henry doesn't have a good game this week, I would be sounding the panic alarms, to be honest, because your boys have been really bad against the run. If Derrick Henry has a bad game, I'd be really shocked.
See,
and then
the one thing I will point out
too.
Real quick with the Cowboys, what usually kills them is outside zone running backs. And Derrick Henry is not the type of running back that usually goes off against them. Again, I could be eating crow and Derrick Henry has a king style performance, but it's usually like the Camaras, the James Cookses, the Aaron Jones that usually beats us.
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
I mean, I'll just show mine quick too, because I mean, we may as well just get them underway. I do have 2. If you guys followed the shorts this morning, I actually posted both of them, I believe, at around 10 a.m. So if you already checked them, you'll know what's coming. But for the first one I will mention, a little 4-parter. We like Devon Achane to go higher than 26.5 receiving yards. He's currently leading the NFL in terms of PFF receiving grade. 14 targets, 7 targets per game in his first 2 games. I think 26.5, honestly, is just a misappropriated line at this point. Brock Bowers higher than 8.95 fantasy points. Tight end 2 on the week. Top 2 target on his team. You can make the case he's the best overall tight end, period, in the NFL in terms of talent right now. Will Levis higher than 205.5 passing yards. DeAndre Hopkins is expected to get his full allotment of routes going into this week. He's only been a guy that's played 43 and 25% of the snaps in his first 2 weeks. And Will Levis, despite not going higher than 205.5 yet, this is by far the easiest pass defense he'll be playing in the first 3 weeks. So I like that. And then Najee Harris, lower than 10.15 fantasy
That's the
points.
one that's going to kill you. I'm going to call it right now. If you miss one, it's going to be that one.
Very well kill. I'm going off the process that this is a low implied Steelers offense. I could very well see this being like a 16-14, 17-16 game. The only way this kills me is if Najee falls in. The
touchdown they score is via the running backs, and Najee's like a 20 carry per game guy in game environments like this. That would be the thing that would scare me about this one.
That is definitely the concern. I mean, for what it's worth, too, the Chargers have been extremely stout against. It's hilarious how much coaching makes a difference. Nobody's bought into Brandon Staley. Nobody's bought into the Chargers last year from a defensive perspective. And we kept talking on a week-to-week basis, like, this is the team you want to attack with your running backs.
Last year.
You bring in Jim Harbaugh, you bring in Jesse Minter's system, and now they're just extremely stout against the run. Pretty funny. Yeah. And then I'll quickly speed by this. This is just more so a wide receiver play. So I think I actually set this as a receiver set the scorch or something. I forget what I titled this, but regardless, it's receivers. JSN higher than 50.5 receiving yards. DK Metcalf expected to face primary coverage from Jalen Ramsey. He just came off of 16 targets last week. We're trusting JSN at home this week. And then, of course, DJ Moore higher than 8.5 first quarter receiving yards. Just mentioned that the Bears should have a potential easier matchup when I was talking about Caleb earlier. And really, with 8.5 receiving yards, you're just banking on DJ Moore getting 1 reception in the first quarter.
Yeah. And then you had the CeeDee Lamb free pick there in that entry as well. Okay, let's speed through.
Yep.
Niner says, morning guys, pick 3, Achane, Mason, Cook, Gibbs, Neighbors. How the hell is this your decision point? These are all like elite plays this week. You're sitting Mason and Neighbors here, but that is crazy to say.
I'm sitting Neighbors and Cook, but I don't want to.
Yeah, Mason and Neighbors would be my sits. I think Cook is a better play this week, personally, than Mason is.
I just can't go against the Niners. I can't.
I agree. I don't think that's outrageous. The Rams have not been good against the run either, so that's definitely fair. Jason feels gross, but I traded Andrews Pickens for Kelce.
I love this
Kirk.
move.
Yeah, I think this is a good move. I mean, Pickens for Kirk, I mean, that's definitely a downgrade there, but I do think Kirk is a half decent, like buy very, very low. And I know Kelce hasn't been great, but I feel better about him still rest of season than I do with Mark Andrews. And there's the upside still that if Kelce has a couple good games in a row, then everybody assumes he's the tight end 1 in fantasy rest of season. You could probably sell him for a lot closer to what Kelce traditionally goes for in trades.
For sure. So I'll handle down the super chats. We'll try to speed through this. You make sure that the site is taken care of. Let's go through these rapid fire because we have a ton of questions to get through and we have about 34 minutes to be able to do so. 12-man PPR start 3, Ayuk, Brandon Cooks, Dell, Amari Cooper, JSN. Thanks. I think you're going with JSN here. You're going with Ayuk and you're going with Tank Dell. And we might disagree because you might have him
I
way
have the
higher.
same guys that I'd be
Okay.
going with there.
Perfect. Again, appreciate the super chat, Jaquan. Another one from Hammerman, sorry, 26. Ridley, Brian Thomas, Michael Pittman, Terry, or McConkey in a PPR. Very easily going to be Brian Thomas Jr. for me. I have him about 10 plus spots higher. Actually, no, I have him like 7 spots
I have
higher than
Ridley relatively close to him, but
Ridley would be the next closest, but it's still BTJ all the way for me on Monday night. BK Rich, who should I start full PPR? Rashad White, Charbonnet, Jerome Ford. Very easily Charbonnet for us.
yeah,
We both
very
have him
easily
as a top
Charbonnet for me
14
as
player
well.
running back.
Yeah, 95% snap share last week. Can't beat that.
Absolute workhorse. Jake, need 3 half PPR, ETN, Achan, Sharp, and Mason. I think you're just sitting ETN here, right? Oh, I have ETN over Sharp. I have ETN over Sharp.
Of this group.
Yeah, my apologies. I didn't notice Sharp. I was noticing HN, Mason, ETN. Yeah, I actually
you
do
could
have
make
Sharp
the argument for sure that Sharp should be ahead of ETN. I have Charbonnet the lowest.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Again, they're 11 and 13 for me. That's actually a good call by you. And what is the health status of Bigsby? Is he expected to miss this game? Is he ruled out?
He's expected to play by the looks of it.
Oh, okay. But even if he does play, he's probably going to be hampered.
I mean, he's going to be somewhat limited. He was ruled out pretty quickly in the last week game against whoever Jacksonville played. I can't remember who it was, but the shoulder injury that he suffered was kind of a sketchy one that could be re-aggravated if he's playing too early. Dylan says Stroud or Daniels. I have Stroud higher than Daniels this week, and he said going Diggs over Waddle too. And yes, I would go Diggs over Waddle this week.
Play the stack, baby. Let's go. Play the stack.
Yep. Waddle or Odunze. I have Waddle still higher than Odunze, but I do like Odunze this week.
I have Waddle higher. Now, where do I have them ranked exactly? I have Waddle as my wide receiver 28, Odunze as my wide receiver 31. So they are very close.
Yeah. I mean, I have Waddle at 27 and I have Odunze. Like, you're not going to like where I have him. I have it 38.
Yeah, I think that's too low. I think with no Keenan Allen,
I wouldn't mind seeing the offense look functional first before I'm throwing him in my lineup.
There's just not enough good options. Like I guess maybe you'd probably have Amari higher. I think that would be fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Shakir and McConkey and Shaheed and those type of guys higher.
I think like McConkey and them is too far because like you're still getting 100% of the routes most likely this week for Odunze.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way that the matchup works better for a guy like McConkey with QJ. I expect to see shadow coverage from Joey Porter. I think that McConkey's going to have a high touchdown or high target ceiling this week.
Fair enough. Let's keep ripping again. Appreciate the super chats.
I don't think Charbonnet, Dobbins, Higgins.
Oh, my bad. Half PPR. I'm just going.
I would sit
Charbonnet's
Dobbins
a lock.
Group, I think I would sit Dobbins of this group.
I think Charbonnet's the lock, and I think it'd be between Higgins and Dobbins.
It's a tough matchup for Dobbins. That's the only tiebreaker there. The only issue is that like T. Higgins is always a risk to drop like a 30% route participation and 0 points.
So let's add that caveat. If you guys are worried about the Higgins factor on Monday night,
you shouldn't be though, because T. Higgins himself isn't worried, and Zach Taylor didn't sound worried either.
Again, I wouldn't be either. But if you are concerned, I've said this even in the start-sit questions. People are like, "Oh, I'm concerned about this. Should I make this decision?" It's like, at the end of the day, like we can give you guys the process. Like Higgins would be the process play. But if you are concerned about Higgins, play the guy that you feel better about. Is how I always answer it. So we'll keep going. Full PPR. Do I trade Pollard plus Higgins for Ayuk here, running back with HN, Dobbins, and Charbonnet? I would be perfectly fine doing this.
Yeah, I would be as well.
Start one full PPR, ETN, Jacobs, or Dobbins. Who do you have higher between Jacobs and ETN?
I have
Jacobs one spot lower.
Jacobs one spot higher.
I have Jacobs one spot lower. Okay, so that didn't answer anything.
I mean, I think again, you look at the 31 carries that Jacobs had last week with Malik Willis starting. I think we're going to get a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs yet again. That's.
I don't disagree. It's really a bet on the workload versus the offensive ceiling for me. And I would slightly lean ETN, but I mean, you're not making a wrong decision either way there, unless one just completely busts. But let's hope that's not the case. Start sit standard league
after this question. Let's fire through some of the site questions as well.
Start sit standard league with modifiers: Tank, Dell, or J.K. Dobbins. In a standard league, you have to go with Dobbins.
Yeah, you have to go Dobbins in a standard for sure.
Yep. Okay, all right, so let's go back to site questions. Don't worry if you guys, real quick, don't worry if you guys have sent a super. We will get to your supers after the site questions. We just want to make sure that we're on an appropriate timing right now. First one from Snubs here. I believe he's just asking for the flex. Wait, is that Amon-Ra and Lamb I see at wide receiver 1 and 2?
Amon-Ra and Lamb, and first flex is T. Higgins too, so very solidly built at wide receiver.
Well,
It
dude,
looks like he's between Jalen Waddle, which again, crazy that you have all these receivers. I think Waddle's got to be the answer for me here.
Yeah, in a PPR, I think it has to be Waddle. If this was a half PPR, I think you can even make the case for Singletary. But in a full
I think
PPR, you gotta go
Singletary would be
Waddle.
my number 2 in all formats for sure, given the workload that he's been seeing. But yeah, I think I would still go with Waddle even despite the Skylar Thompson start.
For sure.
All right. Next
I
question we got from Maximus. The other bright side of asking questions on the site versus in super chats the way that they are, I feel like they go faster. We can get through more of them as well.
For sure.
So Maximus here has another question. With
Devontae
wide
Smith
receiver.
put him in already. We don't need
Devontae
to spend
Smith
time
definitely
on him.
in there. Running back, he's got Rashad White and nothing else. I mean, that's pretty easily Rashad White. And then quarterback, Mayfield versus Cousins. I have Mayfield pretty significantly higher than Cousins this week.
Where do you have Cousins ranked?
Cousins this week, but I do have Mayfield higher.
I have Mayfield at 13 and Cousins at 21.
I have Cousins at 18. I actually don't hate Cousins this week, but I also have Mayfield at 13. So yeah.
I have him in a tier with like Stafford, Lawrence, Watson. I actually have Sam Darnold at 17.
Yeah, Sam Darnold I have at 19, so I'm on the same page there. I think he's a decent play. And then his last flex here, I think this is probably you just want the swing of Xavier Worthy, most likely, right?
Got to go with the upside of Worthy here for sure, especially knowing the other options.
Yep. So we got your lineup set here. You go Rashad White, Baker Mayfield, Devontae Smith, and you are in a very good spot this week. Pat Freiermuth is not a great option at tight end, but other than that, your team looks like in a great spot there. Maximus. Maximus asks starts the question, probably a different league, I would imagine.
Nico Slam. Oh, this looks like the same team. Devontae Smith Slam. Oh, no, it is a different team. Yeah, Malik Neighbors and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Collins Smith.
He's got a flex here. Holy crap, this is a good team. Okay, Neighbors or Smith? Which one? I have Smith higher than Neighbors, but I'm assuming you have Neighbors higher.
I have Smith higher.
Oh, okay. All right. So Neighbors or Smith there. Goddard, I'm assuming he's the only tight end there. Running back, you're going JT. First one.
Where do you have Connor ranked this week? That was the one I kept going back and forth.
3 running backs. Cook, Connor, and Kyron. I have Cook the highest of this group.
I would rank them Cook, Connor, Kyron in that order.
Yep. Okay. Well, we might have a chance to throw one of them into the flex here. So this is a really good team. First,
Connor versus Neighbors. I mean, oh my God, that's a decision we have to be making.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're going Goff over Cousins at quarterback as well.
Yeah, dude, you have to sit one of Connor, 2 of Connor, Kyron, and Neighbors.
Yeah. So I heard a great stat talking about all of Malik Neighbors. I think it's like 50% of his total receiving yards have come on like in-breaking routes. And the Browns over the last 2 years are like the best defense in the league over the middle of the field at stopping in-breakers.
You know why that is?
Probably JOK.
Well, A, and B, who is the one defensive coordinator that causes the most fits to the Shanahan scheme teams?
I'm blanking on the Browns DC right now.
Jim Schwartz. Every single time.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, doesn't matter. The reason why is because he knows how to scheme his defense to guard the middle of the field. So I think that is a perfect stat.
Yeah, it is. And like force these Shanahan quarterbacks who are generally more conservative anyway to throw outside the numbers and beat you there. Yeah. And the nice thing is the Browns too, like they have the horses on the outside to just play recover speed defense on outside the numbers type of throws. Like Ward can recover and get to the ball on outside the numbers throws. To me, this is James Conner. I don't know where you are of this group. It would be
so I have Connor as my RB. I have Connor as my RB 10 and I have Neighbors as my wide receiver 12. So it would be Connor.
Yeah. But like the fact that you got to sit Neighbors is pretty crazy.
Insane. And
Kyron too. Like, I mean, Kyron's in a pretty decent spot. So Daniel Kendrick here, it looks like the rest of his lineup is set minus this running back and flex spot. So it would be
going Akers there.
I'm just going with the 2 backs, I think. I would be playing Najee over the other options as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would too. I would want to say QJ, but knowing the matchup against Joey Porter, that's not going to be happening. So you're going to go with Najee.
Yeah, I mean, my gut analytics take is that Josh Downs could crush this week, but I'm not going to throw him in my lineup over a guy who's probably going to carry the ball 20 times in this game.
Who's Freddie? Go back to flex.
I have no idea. Is that Freddie Swain? Yeah, it is Freddie Swain.
Oh my God.
That's a meme roster of Freddie Swain right there. Really love that, Daniel.
Appreciate that, Daniel.
Can't pronounce your name, but I see your question here. Flex question: JSN, Swift, or Higgins? So JSN and Higgins is between those 2 guys for sure.
This is a full PPR start 7 league. What are the other receivers you have in? I believe it was Marv and Ayuk.
Yeah, Marvin
Okay,
and
yeah. So
Ayuk.
I'd have
I
that
mean, you're not
set.
taking
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah, agreed.
It's a good ass team too. I mean,
Honest to God, with that type of team, do you just play the security knowing JSN?
no, I don't. I play
You
Higgins
don't?
regardless. I think I have Higgins like 4 or 5 spots ahead of JSN. I
Okay.
like JSN this week.
They're
I
like
just
back to
really
back
like
for me
Higgins.
for the record.
Yeah, like I
They
have
are
Higgins at 18.
I have T Higgins at 22 and I have JSN at 24.
Yeah, I'm 18 and 22. So I mean, I
Okay.
like both of them quite a bit this week, but I would go Higgins as well.
Yep,
Appreciate
I think
the
that's fair.
start sit there. Jack has this question for us. Let me see the rest of his lineup.
Yep.
Just a flex by the looks of it. It's a deep ass starting
Oh
lineup,
my
dude.
God.
Holy shit. Look how many wide receiver spots that is.
Yeah. That's fun. Oh, there's need help with the flex
Flex
play. I
not
don't know
decided.
who's
Okay.
available.
Maybe he just listed everybody and he wants us to like, okay, it's a 12 team start 8. So we might have to do some math here. I'm assuming it's a 2 wide receiver, 2 flex if it's a start 8. So
Yeah, I
your
think that's what he
quarterback,
wants. Okay.
yeah,
So we'll do it
quarterback,
like
you only
that.
have Sam Darnold listed here. So it looks like he's your
So
QB. Looks like
Pollard
your
and
bride,
Jacobs are your 2 running backs.
Pollard and Jacobs. Yeah.
Yeah. Very easily.
Pollard and Jacobs. Wide receivers are
Lamb,
Lamb, DJ Moore,
BTJ.
Brian Thomas, and I guess you're caught between Jalen Warren, Javonte Williams, Romeo Dobbs, Tyler Lockett, and Adonai Mitchell in the flex.
So it's going to be one of the running backs, and it's probably going to be Jalen Warren.
Yeah, I have Warren higher than Javonte Williams, even though I love Javonte's, workload in theory. It's just like he stinks right now, and so do the Broncos. So I can't trust Javonte until I see something better. But we can't actually, fill your flex here. But if you're watching,
You'll get the timestamp. Yeah,
you'll get the timestamp sent to you anyways. We would definitely go with Warren in the flex as well as Brian Thomas Jr. and then CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs to fill out the rest of your lineup there. Now let's get into Napacorn's question here. We got these guys all set up. Again, pretty decent looking team. It's between Rashid Shaheed, David Montgomery in the flex spot here. So, I mean, you're already starting St. Brown. That maybe factors in a little bit. I think it's a full PPR, so Shaheed's going to have a little bit of an edge there, given that he's a receiver. I really just 51.5 point over under is just, it's got to be the tiebreaker there, right? Like Montgomery's got to be your man based on the over under.
I mean, if you want to know how I would play it, I'd play Montgomery over White and I'd play Shaheed in the flex.
Yeah, actually, I would as well. I mean, but here's the thing. I would play Montgomery and White, but I would technically play Montgomery over White just based on my rankings because that's how I have them ranked. But
I'd play Shaheed over White for sure.
I would then play Rashad White in the flex. That's what I would do.
Full PPR, I'm playing Rashid Shaheed, man.
Full PPR, dude. I mean, Rashad White might catch more passes than Rashid Shaheed in this game.
He will, but I mean, I can make the case that there's a possibility Shaheed may outscore Rashad White stay on one target because he's got that level of upside. He has like 13 PPR points on any given target level upside. And he's going up against an Eagles secondary that hasn't stopped a nosebleed.
Okay, I will capitulate because I want Rashid Shaheed to do well in my Flock League matchup this week. But I mean, Napacorn will get the timestamps. Just know that I would have probably started Rashad White there, just given the safe workload. And then we should be good there in terms of Flock questions. Right? Let me do one more refresh here just to make sure that we do have them all good. Anthony, we got one more here. Quarterback question.
Need help?
Oh, need defense help. Yeah, it's listed here. Chargers versus the Steelers on the road. Raiders versus the Panthers. Let me check if they're at home or not. I'll pull up my defense.
Texans against the Colts. No, not Texans against the Colts. Sorry, Bears against the Colts. Texans against Minnesota.
Raiders at home against Carolina. Texans at Minnesota. Green Bay at Tennessee, and then Tennessee versus Green Bay, obviously.
I mean, it feels gross because like there's always the possibility Andy Dalton comes in and shreds, but I think the process play is just going to be the Raiders defense at home against the Panthers.
Call me crazy, dude, but I think the process play is the Chargers defense. They've been playing well. It's a 35.
They're on the road though.
Under game. I know they are, but they're playing Justin Fields, who's capable of throwing a pick six at any time, and it's a 35 point over under game. I have them ranked as my 7th overall defense this week.
Where do you have the Bears ranked? I'm actually curious.
I have the Bears at 9.
Okay, because the reason why I asked is I actually picked up the Raiders defense initially and dropped them for the Bears because, first of all, I mean part of it was storyline. I had Aubrey plus the Bears defense as my combo in week 1 when they combined for 46. So for the Flock League specifically, I made a thing about how they have chemistry playing together. So
Yeah. Well, which defense are you going with if you had to make the choice here? My answer would be the Chargers.
I'll capitulate with the Chargers, but I think the Raiders would probably be the process.
I'm scared of Andy Dalton, dude. I'm scared of him. I think they might actually win that game. Like, if you guys want an underdog pick of the day here, it would be the Carolina Panthers win straight money line versus the Raiders.
You know, I wouldn't be shocked.
I would not be shocked either. Okay. We have the questions caught up. We do need to get back to our supers. I believe, was it Trident the last one that we got to? No, it was this other Trident one that we got to.
We answered this. We said Dobbins.
Right. Okay. So let's keep ripping through. Dak or Carr, 4-point per passing touchdown. I would start Prescott as much as I do like Derek Carr this week.
Yeah, they're close though. They're both like back end.
Kyron Williams or J.K. Dobbins this week, full PPR. You got to lean with Kyron's workload, I think.
Yeah, you got to go with Kyron's workload.
If it was Dobbins was in a better matchup, I might consider leaning with him. I did hear Ian Rappaport talking about Dobbins on NFL Game Day or whatever, and he basically said that like they're going to rely on Dobbins going forward, more or less. So it's possible that if we heard that now, if we see Dobbins play 70% of the snaps this week, we should probably expect that to continue. You know what I mean?
For sure. Trade Dobbins plus Worthy for DJ Moore. Have Hall, Gibbs, Mason. Nah, I would not do this.
That's not a good enough receiver, to be honest. You can make the argument that Worthy and Moore are pretty comparable rest of season. As much as I would prefer Moore, it's not a big enough upgrade. If that was like Dobbins and Worthy for like Ayuk, then I would.
I was going to say, what's the line? Probably Olave or Ayuk.
I wouldn't even do it for Olave, I don't think.
Fair. I was just curious.
I would need Ayuk. We do
have to rip through, bro.
Somebody like that.
I know you want to get into context. We have 17 minutes, and we're probably going to even get more vlog questions. We got to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Start 1 half PPR. Thomas Jr., JSN, Moore, Reed, and Swift. JSN is going to be the one. No, DJ Moore's here. DJ Moore. My answer. I have DJ Moore here. I would take DJ Moore. I like both, but I would still go DJ Moore. I still have Moore at 17. He commanded 11 targets last week. Keenan Allen's out of the lineup. Much easier matchup. I think there's going to be a rebound for the Bears offense.
Yeah. I mean, so
I love JSN too.
We have DJ Moore one spot higher, but the more I think about it in full PPR, I would start JSN over DJ Moore.
I mean, they're both full PPR guys.
They are. But I think the matchup, knowing that Metcalf is going to get shadowed, stacks up quite well for JSN, as you talked about with the pick'em there.
No, that's definitely fair. I mean, I'll just quickly ask you this one. Would you go D-Hop or Quentin Johnson? For the record, I got Kenneth Walker ruled out for me in the listener league.
I'd probably start D-Hop, dude. I know it's kind of a risk because QJ is the one that's performed recently, but I think that QJ is going to get wiped off the field by Joey Porter. Like, QJ looks better this year, don't get me wrong, but Joey Porter is like the lowest fantasy points per route run coverage corner in the league right now. Like, he is nails. And I don't think they're going to throw his way at all.
He's been quite good. Flex forward, Brian Thomas, Waddle, and Pickens.
I mean, it's just going to be Brian Thomas. I would still start Waddle over Brian Thomas.
Write it down, baby. Brian Thomas versus Jalen Waddle. What's the other one we agreed to? You've been writing them down, right?
Myers versus Eckler. Gross.
Yuck.
Waddle versus Thomas.
Yeah, he doesn't specify.
We had 2 on Thursday Night Football. I'm going to lose one of them for sure because Ramondre was who I picked in one of them.
Who did I have against him?
You had Olave, which is fucking he's gonna scorch me on that one. And then Deontay versus Carson Steele. I had Deontay. You had Carson Steele.
Full PPR or half?
I didn't write it down, but it was probably full.
Yeah,
if I made the bet.
Base. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I would go Brian Thomas here. You'd go Waddle. Again, sorry, crypto, it doesn't really help you as much here, but again, appreciate that. Go with whichever one of those two you like better. Good morning, boys. Rashad White or Cam Akers. I mean, we just went through this. I
would rather start Rashad White, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think half PPR and standard would lean you towards Akers a little bit more, but I think Rashad's going to catch so many passes in this game.
Yeah, I'll go Akers. Appreciate G Money for being a member as well. Q Hussein, again, you can find the comment quickly. We got a speed run.
Yeah, I'll look for Q's comment.
Do we have any more site questions as well?
Not at the moment. What was the timestamp on Q's question? I got it right here. Never mind.
Okay.
Half PPR, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex. Dobbins, B. Rob, Montgomery, Rasheed Rice, Marvin Harrison.
MHA are your receivers.
Yeah. Rasheed, Marvin, and Higgins are probably 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, and then Dobbins and Montgomery. Dobbins, B. Rob, Montgomery are legit 18, 19, 20 for me in my rankings.
I think you got to go
I
with the game environment for Montgomery, and
yeah, I
it's
think
between
I
Dobbins and
actually
B-Rob.
have Robinson one spot ahead of Montgomery, but now that you mention it, I 100% would start Montgomery over him.
For sure. But yeah, that's how we would set it. I believe we went through it. Dobbins, Montgomery, Rasheed, MHJ, and Higgins. Appreciate the super chat, Hussein. Another one from Jonathan here. Reed or Tyler Lockett PPR. It's got to be Jaden Reed. I understand that we have concerns about the quarterback situation. Tyler Lockett just doesn't look like the same player, straight up. So yeah, we would be going with Jaden Reed there. We do have Kid next as well. Do we have one side question?
Yeah, we do have one side question.
We'll
We can
quickly
roll with
get
this.
that, and then boom, we'll go back into
Yeah.
Kid's question again.
So
Appreciate you guys.
Ikenji here, he's got a fucking loaded starting lineup minus Zach Ertz here. The flex, considering Jaden Reed, Darnell Mooney, Yoshi Vosh, and Brandon Cooks, it's still got to be Jaden Reed, even despite the Malik Willis playing quarterback. I think he's going to have a better game than he did last week, to be honest.
Yep, agreed. I would also go with Jaden Reed there. Again, appreciate the question over on the site. Got a super here from Kid as well. Ayuk, Sharp, Akers, or London at flex. I mean, it's got to be Brandon Ayuk, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Ayuk, but I want to find a way to get Charbonnet in my lineup if I possibly can. Same with London, too. I think all of those guys are really good plays this week, but you got to go with Ayuk. He's like a top 7 receiver for me this week.
Curious who your running backs are for sure. Flex, BTJ, McLaurin, Dunze. If you can only flex one, it's Brian Thomas. Yep. Appreciate the super there. How? Hoy. Again, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Start JSN, Dell, or Worthy for flex. I would rank these options JSN, Dell, Worthy, I believe. JSN and Dell are like back-to-back for me, so I don't know. Actually, let me check which one I have higher. I have Dell at 23, JSN at 24, but to be honest, I think I would switch.
I have JSN at 20 and Dell at 23, so I would definitely start.
Yeah, I you know what? I think you're making a fair point. I'm actually going to switch that, so I would go JSN. I moved JSN just above Dell.
Yeah. Also, a quick PSA before we get into the rest of the questions. If you guys do want our weekly rankings manifesto, it has all of the Vegas information up to date. It has all of the matchup charts, and it has our weekly start sit rankings. So you don't actually have to ask us. You can just go to our rankings. Like I update mine like multiple times during this live stream. And same goes for like throughout the week and stuff. So if you guys do want access to our weekly rankings manifesto, you get it for free by depositing $10 on Underdog using code FSE. You'll get it for free all season long. And it's also on the site as well if you become a site subscriber. And our weekly rankings, you can also just use in our rankings widget there over on the site. So if you guys are sick of waiting for us to answer your question, we never get to your questions, that is the easiest way to get our answer. Is our weekly rankings are based on who we would start. We don't care about the accuracy competition. It's who we would actually start for sure during that.
You are going with Reed here for sure, Kenny. I actually think
this might be the exact Kenji. This was probably his exact question. So I mean, you didn't have to ask us twice, but we really appreciate the support in both facets there.
Yeah, appreciate that. I actually just clocked that in now. That's crazy. What up, boys? Should I trade Chase around for Adam Thielen? Thielen with Andy could pop like last year. Also, PPR flex, D-Rob, Ladd, Downs, or Ferguson. Like if you're completely desperate for a wide receiver play this week, I don't think it's the worst. Now, in face value situations, I would just take the implied upside of the Cincinnati Bengals starting running back. Like if Moss were to go down or Brown were to usurp him in the pecking order, I think the implied upside is there with Chase Brown. But if you need somebody to enter your lineup, do I think it's the worst trade? I don't.
No, I think it would depend on where your team is at. If you have like a hero RB build and you're stashing somebody, I would prefer Chase Brown. But if you need a flex because you lost AJ Brown or Cooper Kupp or something like that, then I would go with Thielen.
For sure. Again, appreciate the super. Full PPR.
Well, he had a question here too. D-Rob, Ladd, Downs, or Ferguson. I would go with McConkey of this group.
I'd go with Ladd as well. Appreciate that, official. Andrew, full PPR, 2 running back, 1 wide receiver, 2 flex, Connor, ETN, Rashad White, Mike Evans, Higgins, Charbonnet, or Reed. Charbonnet is going to be at least one of the running backs for sure. Connor's going to be, I mean, I would actually go 3 running backs. Yeah,
Connor, Charbonnet, to be honest. Connor,
Charbonnet, ETN. Connor, and ETN are in your lineup.
Connor and ETN, 2 flex. I mean, Charbonnet is going to find one of your flexes. Mike Evans is going to be your wide receiver. Higgins versus Rashad White versus Jaden Reed is your second flex. It's Higgins.
Yeah. And appreciate that, Andrew. G Money, hey guys, AR or Kirk Cousins at quarterback this week. Richardson. Give me Anthony Richardson. I don't know how many you can start of these running backs, receivers, but that team is loaded.
Yeah, I think maybe that's ARFB is what that's supposed to be, and then Richardson. Yeah.
I think he's just
Robinson or Brian Robinson. I'm not sure which one. Probably Bijan, Gibbs, Nico Collins, or Rasheed Rice. Yeah, it's a loaded ass fucking team, dude.
Full PPR 10-team league quarterback Stroud or Mayfield. Give me CJ Stroud there. I'm assuming you agree.
Yep.
Running back Mason, Achane, Madison Hill. He needs 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. So I mean, Mason and Achane are easily your running backs.
Hill and Flowers are your wide receivers, and then
Worthy
it's
is your
Worthy as
flex.
the flex for sure.
Yep, appreciate the super. Flex 1 PPR, Pittman, Shakir, or Jennings. With the news that Pittman's dealing with the questionable tag coming into this game,
I had Shakir higher than Pittman anyways.
Okay, yeah, because they're very close for me. I don't mind just going with Shakir, knowing that Pittman's entering the week hampered by the injury. First, you're getting into fantasy. You guys are making my go-to. Appreciate that as well.
The best receiver on the Colts is back on the field too.
Come on, man.
Call me crazy, dude. I think we're going to see a Josh Downs eruption game. If you guys still, there's 8 minutes.
Refresh on the site, by the way.
If you can pick up Josh Downs before he's the hottest waiver out of next week, you should probably go ahead and do it now.
Yeah, let me see.
Okay, we still got more questions here. Anthony Richardson or Derek Carr? Justin, I'm taking Anthony Richardson there. I know Danny agrees. Tight end, Parkinson. Strange, Saubert, gross. I would go with Parkinson personally. I don't know where you stand on this disgusting tight end question, but I would go with Parkinson given all the Rams injuries.
By the way, I shout out all the boys in our leagues for being active right before the week starts, but also trying to get us to process a trade 7 minutes before kickoff when we're live streaming every Sunday is kind of going to be difficult. Luckily, I checked my phone to be able to get that through, AJ, but that would have been bad because it's kind of tough to check both. But yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah. Also, one thing I'd like to shout out about quickly about the Flock trade questions is that you can actually slide it like a super chat and give however much you guys want to give us. And I noticed that Ikenji actually gave us 10 instead of 5 that you usually have to give. So shout out to Ikenji here for giving us some support there. Full PPR flex DK Metcalf or Zay Flowers. I have Zay Flowers higher. I think the Jalen Ramsey matchup is a little scary.
I have Metcalf higher. They're close.
Zay Flowers has 10 plus targets in both of his games this year.
They're both top 20 plays for me, but I trust the Seattle Seahawks offense is kind of what I come down to.
No, that's fair. I think that's totally fine. I would personally, we can do that one if you want.
They're close enough to the point where I don't want to. Like they're same tier. Like
start 3: Dell, London, Pickens, BTJ, DeMarcus
Dell, London,
Robinson.
BTJ.
You're going with Dell, London, and BTJ. Yeah, that's exactly what I would go with.
Hey, if you appreciate the super chat, yeah, that is the one way to get us to get.
Yeah, that's the way to get our attention. tell us to super chat and push the trades through. We should probably just have automatic trade processing. To be honest,
that might be clutch. Also, refresh on the site. I'll go through the supers.
Okay,
Sam Laportata. Sorry, I appreciate the
sounds like something that Maria would have me try for the first time.
Horchata. Sam La Horchata.
Yeah. We are caught up on the site, so we're good.
It is Laporta or Higgins for you. I think you go Laporta here, but
yeah, you go Laporta given the game environment, 51.5 point over under. It's a weird question having two tight end versus a wide receiver.
One flex Worthy, Odunze, BTJ or Downs. You going BTJ here? Yeah, I actually didn't notice him. It's pretty easy. I
would go Worthy over BTJ.
Let's write it down then. Half PPR?
Hey.
Full PPR? What are we riding?
Let me just make sure I do have Worthy ahead of BTJ in my ranking.
I don't think you do.
I literally have them 29 and 30, and Worthy is at 29 for me.
I have them 25 and 30. I have BTJ a little bit higher than you do.
This is
I mean, they're both big play receivers. Do we want full PPR or half PPR, bro? Like they're both big play guys.
Yeah, I don't care. We'll just do full PPR because they're both big play guys.
Rico, Reed, Gabe Davis, Tajay for flex full PPR. I mean, it's got to be Jaden Reed in a full. It's not. I don't feel great, but it's got to be Jaden Reed.
Yeah, it's got to be Jaden Reed for sure. I actually do feel pretty solid about him this week.
Yeah. Maya, appreciate that. My running backs are Hall, Najee, Mostert, and Brooks on IR. Only 4 bench spots. Drop Najee or Mostert for Akers this week to start as my RB2. Full PPR. Are you cool dropping Mostert for Akers, knowing you need to play a running back this week? Or would you drop Najee? I think I would drop Mostert before I drop Najee.
To be honest with you, this might be a hot take because I know you like Akers this week. I would just start Najee and not drop Mostert at all. I think Nick's going to be back next week anyways.
I think he's going to be week to week. He's been labeled that
he could be, but I would rather have Mostert than
I think that's
Akers
fair
for a week or two. It would also depend, like, is your team like down bad for wins right now? But I actually think Najee versus Akers is very close anyways this week. So I would just take Najee, just start Najee this week and keep Mostert.
Yep. Good question though. Good question.
That is an interesting question for sure.
Akers or Waddle, 1 PPR, 0.25 for rushing first downs. Call me disgusting. I think I'm going Akers.
No, there's no way I would say. There's no way I'm sitting Jalen Waddle for Cam Akers.
I know it's gross, but you're getting probably 18 plus opportunities in a winning game script for the Texans with 24 implied points. The process play, especially with rushing first downs, it's Akers, man. And that's the process. It's gross, but it's Akers. Ask Mason. Mason agrees. He's made the same decision in block.
First of all, the 0.25 rushing first down bonus is a maximum 1 to 1.25 points extra. It's not that much.
It is.
And Jalen Waddle is going to catch 5 or 6 passes, and the full PPR makes up for the fact that Cam Akers will not, because Dario Ogunbowale is going to be on the field on long down and distance. That's Waddle. It's Waddle. I don't care
if you want to keep sanity. I mean, first of all, the process clearly Akers is the disgusting factor. If you want to go with Akers,
the process is not clearly Akers because one of these guys is clearly superstar and paid like it, and the other guy has
one of them's catching passes from one of them's catching passes from Skylar Thompson and an 18.5 implied point offense. One of them's a bell cow running back this week with no Pearson Mixon for a 24 point implied offense.
I think he's going to be a 50% snap share guy because Ogunbowale is going to be on the field.
Okay, Ogunbowale in his 4 opportunities isn't cracking into Akers' workload.
I don't think that Akers has a huge workload this week. I think he's
write it down.
Backfield. I am writing it down.
I feel disgusting for making that, but it's the process.
You can't ever call it a process play to sit Jalen Waddle for a guy with 2 Achilles.
It's a process play when one guy's in an 18.5 implied point offense on the road against Mike McDonald, and the other one's a 24 point implied offense with the Texans.
That's even fine, if he falls back, Jalen Waddle, and one of them is Cam Akers.
Dude, Cam Akers can rush 16 times for 35 yards, but if he punches in the touchdown, I can almost guarantee that'll outpace what Waddle does.
16 times for 35 yards would be like 3.5 points plus maybe 4 first downs.
Catches a couple passes,
5 points, and a touchdown's 10.5.
I don't think
5 catches for 45 yards is fucking beating that.
I don't think Waddle's scoring more than 13 PPR points this week. I think Akers will.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jalen Waddle could cook.
I don't mind him. He's like a fringe top 30 play, but I mean, it's Akers, man.
Anyways, it is 12:58 p.m. I am panicking that I have somebody in my lineup that could
we don't have any more side questions?
What exactly was the trade that you're referring to, by the way, that AJ had you push through?
I didn't honestly look at it.
So AJ got Chris Godwin, Kyler Murray, Braylon Allen, and Jacoby Myers, and sold Anthony Richardson, Kyle Pitts, Chase Brown, and Jerry Jeudy. So Richardson deal for Murray swap, basically. AJ gives up Pitts, Chase Brown, Jeudy for Godwin, Braylon, and Jacoby Myers.
He's also lower on Avers. Keep that in mind. He's told me
he is. Trust me, I know. He asked me about it 6,000 times this week.
Dude, he loves. I love you, AJ, but you love when you are scared about something, fucking asking us our thoughts on it, and then when we tell you that we're not scared, saying like, "Well, I'm still scared."
Yeah,
which I don't blame you for. But
also, he sold Pitts in that trade, but he already had McBride, so kind of understandable.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good play, especially if you're.
Of course, I'm playing AJ this week, so I'm probably going to get smacked around because I have to start Darnell fucking Washington at tight end, and Ramondre Stevenson dropped 0.3 points for me on Thursday night. So,
if you wanted to, oh fuck, I say oh fuck like I don't already have all my lineups set, but it's still scary.
I've set them 3 times today, and I'm still panicking.
I've set them 3 times this stream, bro.
Yeah. All right. It's 1 p.m. Appreciate you guys for joining us. Apologies if we did not get to your question. Again, if you want to ask us a question, you can ask them in advance if you want to on the submit a question feature, link in the description on Flock. We'll get to it on our next live stream, which will obviously be on Monday night. And then going forward, we get to those first, like we said, and we do appreciate them to super chats. And also too, if you just want a quick, easy answer, who would we start? Weekly start set rankings for free. Use code FSE on Underdog Fantasy. As we talked about, this was my other wide receiver pick. I didn't get to mention it, but I think that's Tank Dell's higher than his rushing yards. Brandon Ayuk, 68.5 receiving yards. And then Chris Olave. And they have the CeeDee Lamb free pick going right now, but it's probably too late to make an entry. But you can still get our weekly start set rankings and use them going forward. And same goes for the site. They are available over there as well. So peace out, fellas. Hopefully you have a great game. Hopefully I beat Avery in the Flock League. Stay tuned on Tuesday for the week 3 recap as well.
Hey, and